Too much sunshine can be harmful, but we know one car company that can't get enough. That's this week on Motoring 2006.
TSN's Motoring 2006 is brought to you by the new Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses.
As we all know, General Motors is the largest car company in the world, and because of its sheer size, change usually comes very slowly. So it was a few years ago that the automotive world and a generation of drivers was shocked when GM decided to Deep Six Oldsmobile, even though it was building some of the company's prettiest cars. However, it sent shockwaves through other GM divisions, including Pontiac. I mean, here's a company that's built its heritage on performance. And should I even mention what the Aztec did to Pontiac? Well, this week, we're in beautiful Kelowna, British Columbia to check out a vehicle that Pontiac believes will lead to a sunny future. And that vehicle is the Pontiac Solstice.
Started with a concept car, 2002 Detroit Auto Show. Met with huge internal and outside response, positive response to this car. It went forward. Within 2 years, we've now brought this car to market, so huge amount of interest and a really fast program for us.
When you look at Pontiac, I mean, just about the whole portfolio is brand new, and Solstice is one of the last vehicles coming to the portfolio. So if you look at, the Pontiac, the Grand Prix is fairly new, G6 is new, and of course the Solstice is all brand new. And I think it says a lot about what Pontiac is all about. It puts excitement and fun back into driving, and we've seen here today on the ride and drive, particularly with these great roads in BC, how much fun it can be to drive the car.
They started from scratch. It was designed from the outset to be a convertible car. It isn't something that's been modified to make it into a convertible, so it's been the whole concept has been convertible, fun to drive roadster, and they sort of took it from there.
I think several attempts in the last decade did not help the brand, but I think this car has the potential to be a huge halo for them. I'm impressed overall. Dynamically, they've nailed it. I mean, it's a hell of a fun car to drive. Transmission, bit of a gap between fourth and fifth gear. Fifth is pretty much useless, so we're kind of thinking of it as a four-speed with an overdrive. But it is just a huge delight to drive.
2.4-liter four-cylinder, 177 horsepower and 166 foot-pounds of torque. Great motor, good fuel economy.
Clearly, what we're trying to do is put styling and fun back into driving, particularly with Pontiac. And the Solstice, a two-seat roadster, lots of horsepower, great fun to drive. It's going to be a vehicle for all kinds of different people. It can be for, the first car, my first car, two-seat roadster, have lots of fun. But it could also be people that are well into their 50s or 60s that want a second or third car in the driveway to have a nice drive on a Sunday afternoon. So it's got broad appeal, but we're hoping that it'll skew more toward the younger audience and bring a lot of people back to Pontiac that may not figure they want to buy a Pontiac.
I think the dynamics are fabulous. They've done a terrific job on the chassis. The engine is reasonably strong. It's perhaps not the most refined out there. If there's a weakness, it may be in the detail things like the plastic materials and some of the things they've had to do just to keep the cost down on the car. Pontiac's been promoting itself as the performance division for forever and ever, but quite frankly, most of their cars really haven't lived up to that reputation, and this is a car that's going to deliver performance on a number of fronts as well as being absolutely gorgeous.
Every time I see another color, I like that too, so it's tough to pick, so that's a great problem to have and the response for the vehicle it's been tremendous. The stylists have nailed this one because everyone that walks by, looks at it, wants to know more about it. It's just been fabulous.
Pontiac, with this style, I'm not sure the style can rub off on another Pontiac vehicle. It does have a Pontiac front, and we'll see variations of this platform with Saturn coming up, etc. But keep this kind of thinking will be very beneficial, I think, to Pontiac.
I'm 35. and that's hugely fun. It's an emotional product for people to see it. It's even more emotional for people working on it because there's so much passion behind it to bring it to market, to get it out there, put it in public's hands and really enjoy it for what it is.
What do the Pontiac Solstice and a pail of sand have in common? Find out later on Kenzie's Corner.
For years, the Europeans have understood the practical value of a station wagon. This week on Test Drive, we take a look at BMW's all-new 5 Series touring wagon. Talk BMW, and the first place to start is the powertrain. In the 530 wagon, this means a 3-litre inline 6 that delivers 255 horsepower and 220 pounds-feet of torque. Being the latest engine to use Valvetronic, a system that uses the intake valves as the throttle and variable valve timing on both the intake and exhaust cams, transforms it into a paragon of virtue. Stabbing the gas brings a long linear flow of power and a suitably raspy exhaust note. This is particularly true when married to the 6-speed manual box. It always keeps the engine at or very near its sweet spot. You know, of all the car companies, BMW understands ride and handling better than just about anybody. Take this 5 Series wagon, for instance. It's a large vehicle, and yet it ate the pylon test for lunch. And that boils down to 2 important things. First of all, it's got the basics: solid chassis, good suspension, and the right tyres. You then take those basics and layer them with a good dose of electronics. Electronic stability control, traction control, and an all-wheel drive system that actively participates in the handling characteristics. It really is very good, and something you cannot do with an SUV. BMW's Xdrive system is one serious bit of technology. Along with the mechanical bits needed to drive all 4 wheels, the system is layered with some wonderful electronic assistance, dynamic stability control and traction control. This simple extension gives the system the ability to react to wheel spin before it actually occurs. It also continually evaluates the vehicle's reaction to driver input to arrive at the best torque split for the driving conditions. And this happens in an instant. 100 milliseconds to be exact. A package that's well worth the money with this new 5 Series wagon is the M Sport package. Along with the body cladding and much nicer wheels, you get some fabulous seats with much more support, a decent steering wheel, and this very nice aluminum finish to the interior. There are, however, 2 things to dislike. First of all, well, there's a fuel economy gauge in the bottom of the tack. Now, this thing swings back and forth like there's no tomorrow. It really is redundant and a complete and utter waste of time. The other thing, well, believe it or not, this is your cup holder. If you're into big gulps, you won't be into this car. Manning the gas automatically splits the power 50-50, which minimizes the risk of wheel spin. Once through 20 kilometers an hour, the system begins to distribute the torque variably between the front and rear axles. By the time the Big 5 reaches 180k, well, it's driven exclusively by the rear wheels. The system is also smart enough to help counter minor bouts of oversteer and understeer. If the car begins to oversteer, more power is directed to the front wheels, which pulls it out of trouble. The opposite happens if it begins to push. If this action is not enough to counter the wayward tendency, don't worry, the stability control system, well, it steps in to save the day. Utility is an important part of any station wagon, and this 5 Series has got it in spades. To begin with, 500 litres worth of storage space with the seats up. Fold them down and it more than triples to 1,650. You also get a privacy cover and this handy net. Now, the importance of that net, it keeps everything back here in the event of an emergency because it spans the distance between the seat back and the roof. You also get a ton of additional storage space. You get some under here, yet more under here, and if you lift the base of that up, well, there's a ton more space below that. The reason? This car uses run-flat tyres and therefore doesn't need a spare tyre. So all the space the spare would occupy, well, you get to hide your stuff down there. Finally, Xdrive works hand in hand with the anti-lock brake system. If the rear wheel begins to spin, it counters this slippage by applying the brake to that wheel, which forces the power to the right wheel, where it can be put to good use. It even recognises when the driver is parking the car and automatically unlocks the centre diff, which sends all of the drive power to the rear wheels. This bit of logic banishes wind-up, a disconcerting shudder that's felt through the steering wheel and seat of the pants whenever a full lock is dialed into a lesser design. There's an old song. It goes something like this: anything you can do, I can do better. Well, that's exactly what this 5 Series wagon is singing to the SUV crowd. If you don't go off-road, which is 90% of all SUVs, then this 5 Series touring wagon does everything better than an SUV. Better handling, better performance with less gas mileage, you get better comfort and just as much utility. However, it also has one very important ace up its sleeve: a proactive all-wheel drive system that's a very tough act to follow.
It's time to introduce the newest member to our long-term garage, the 2006 Subaru Forester. Now, Subaru has always been known for its full-time all-wheel drive vehicles, but along with that has been boring design and not great performance. Well, Subaru has been addressing that over the last few years, and the Forester still may not win any styling awards, but when it comes to performance, it doesn't get any better. It helps, of course, that our long-term Forester comes equipped with the turbocharged, horizontally opposed 2.5-liter 4-cylinder boxer engine that puts out 230 horsepower. Now, our model comes with a 4-speed automatic, although a 5-speed manual is also available. Now, over the next few months, we'll experience life with this station wagon, or is it an SUV? We'll talk more about that in future updates.
I'm going to get for you to me. How many downs on it? I'm going to get for you to me. Right here, 7 over 5, 5 over 5 over 3, 3 over 3 over 2. I'll give 100. 100 downs.
I'm Tom Stackhouse.
100 down 2. I go 1 over 2. 150.
Collecting is a disease. It's like a lot of things. It's not curable, but you can treat it by finding a nice object somewhere that you don't have and drag it home.
175. Sold 150. Sold 150. Number is number 6334.
It's a big collection. You know, and now they're saying that it's probably the biggest in North America of a mixed variety of the stuff that's here. I'm sorry to see it go, but I'm happy to be here to see it go. Because if I wasn't here, it would be a big chore for my wife, my sons to look after.
I'm Marlene Stackhouse, and my husband is Tom Stackhouse, probably the largest hoarder of memorabilia that I know. Tom would trade you for something. He would buy from you, but very rarely would sell anything, very rarely. You'd have to make it really interesting for him to sell it. And it wasn't the thing of keeping it or having it for yourself, it was the find. It was the search for the items, the rare things, the unusual things. I think with all collectors, it's the hunt.
My name is Terry Lobson. I'm the Public Relations Director of RM Auctions. Well, you're seeing one man's collection that's by far one of the most exceptional collections and largest collections that we've ever seen of automobilia and memorabilia in Canada. This particular sale has over 2,000 different lots in the catalog. In each lot could be one item, could be 100 items. So if you did the math on it, you're looking at probably over 100,000 individual items here. So everyone's been photographed and everything has been itemized and given a number. And it's really, really one of the most exceptional sales we've ever seen.
$200 on the internet.
In the early 60s, there's an older gentleman come in and he needed some tires for his tractor or something, but he didn't have any money. So I said, okay, what have you got to trade? Well, he had a 34 Ford V8 pickup truck sitting on the farm that he wasn't using, so he traded it to me for a tractor tire or whatever, and that's where my deal started. To me, mascots and hood ornaments are artwork, a lost art. Each company started putting their own ornaments onto them. However, it became an accessory too. The car didn't come with it, but you bought the car, and then for an extra $4.95, probably you got the ornament. The old T-model Fords didn't have anything, but they did have one they called a fiddle man, a little brass guy playing a fiddle. So I was never able to find one. And this guy was at the function, and I knew he had the Model T Ford with the fiddler on the cap. Anyway, I bought the car to get the ornament, so I took the ornament off, put something else on, sold the car, and I still have that. I went overboard, I guess, and it was our hobby. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't play golf, so I took my few dollars and I would go, and my wife and I both like going to flea markets for antiques or whatever, and we'd always come home with a bunch of stuff. I don't feel that bad. I have at least enjoyed it, and I'll let somebody else enjoy it.
Last call, 125, 125, so $100 you got it there.
If you're going to buy a two-seat Roadster, you're not expecting a lot of room for luggage, but the Solstice, well, it could be stretching it a bit. Open the back, you've got the convertible top. You got to have room for that. Put it up, and what have you got now? You've got the gas tank and no room for even one set of golf clubs. Now this vehicle, of course, is going to be compared to the Mazda Miata, and with the Miata you can put golf clubs in the trunk. And the last time I checked, the Miata also had a gas tank. All right, let's head to the Quaker State Garage and join Bill Gardner.
Hey Brad, yet another good reason in my book not to buy a car. It's got to be a pickup truck, right? But you know what? Over the years, pickup trucks have shrunk in cargo capacity in some cases. It used to be they were all 8-foot boxes. Now you're seeing more and more trucks with shorter boxes. On this Nissan Titan crew cab, for example, it's got a huge cab, but the box is only 5.5 feet nose to tail. Now they've gained back a lot of cargo space though by making it really deep. The box is over 20 inches deep, and that extra depth, every inch of extra depth, helps you when you drop the tailgate down. Of course, the tailgate's got to be higher to line up with the box, so it swings out further. You get more cargo supporting capability from that tailgate height. Here's another configuration of the Titan pickup. A little bit smaller cab, same in the front seat, but they've shrunk the rear seat a little bit, and the door configuration is slightly different. You have to open the front doors of the cab to get the rear doors open. But you gain a foot of length in the box, and that's big when you're hauling cargo. So you've got 6.5 feet of length in the box, and with the tailgate down, you've got 8.5 feet of support for your cargo. You've still got all that depth, so you can get a lot of stuff in this cargo box. On the positive side, the current pickup trucks ride and handle great, and that improvement in ride and handling as a result of improved suspension geometry has had the side benefit of making your tires wear a lot less. In other words, your tire life is much greater on these current full-size and mid-size pickup trucks. On our long-term tester Dakota here, I've noticed that I've looked at the front tires versus the rear tires. I really can't see any difference in them. I've measured them for tread depth, looked for uneven wear or any sign of even edge wear, cornering wear that you normally get on the front wheels of any vehicle if you're cornering a little bit briskly. Can't see any sign of adverse tire wear at all in this vehicle. Now there's a lot of things that you can also control to minimize the amount of tire wear you get in your vehicle, whether it's a truck or a car. And first of all, maintaining tire inflation pressure is so important, and many people overlook it. Make sure it's always up to specs, and make sure that your wheel alignment is checked regularly. If you have any worn parts in the front end, get them changed and get the wheel alignment checked and reset on a regular basis. Also, the way you drive your vehicle can have a major effect on how long your tires wear. As I said, these full-size pickups handle and ride great, and you're tempted to hustle them around a corner like a sports car because they'll really handle now. But when you start doing that, you start wearing out your tires prematurely. So if you drive with caution, your tires will last a lot longer. And believe me, on today's vehicles, it's so important because with these big tires, they're really costly to replace. So you want them to last a long time. Maintain them and adjust your driving accordingly. Your tire wear will be great. Till next week, I'm Bill Gardner for Motoring 2006.
About 15 years ago, Mazda resurrected a market segment that had pretty much died completely, and that was the affordable two-seat sports car. The days of the MGB and Triumph TR4 had been long gone. But But the Miata, well, this was a car that emphasized sports car spirit. It was cheap to buy, it was reliable, it was fun to drive, it was cute, it was usable. And in 15 years, nobody's taken a serious shot at them. They've had the market to themselves until now. This, of course, is the Pontiac Solstice. You can tell it's a gorgeous looking car, but can it compete with the Miata? Can it actually give the Miata a bit of competition? Well, you can look at it. As I say, it's got the looks sorted out. It's got more horsepower than the Miata. It's a little bit heavier. The performance, it's really the problem is the gearbox. They don't have enough gears in it, and the final drive ratio is too tall. So you get good fuel economy, but the performance is a little bit lacking. As you're going to find out on the show as well, the trunk space, well, when the top is up, you got a little bit. When the top is down, you got room for a pail of sand. Not the pail, just the sand. And that's going to be a serious drawback, because one of the huge advantages of the Miata has always been its usability. You hop in, you throw your sports bag in, you can put the top up and down just by sitting in the passenger seat or the driver's seat. It's a very usable, friendly car. This thing, it's a Sunday afternoon play toy, because you can't go anywhere with it unless you're just taking a thin wallet in your back pocket. Now, does that make it a bad car? Not at all. It's gorgeous, it handles beautifully, it's a lot of fun to drive, and frankly, the most important thing about it, finally, somebody has at least taken a shot at the Mazda Miata. I'm Jim Kenzie.
You know, Pontiac is hoping for some big things from its brand new 2006 Solstice. Pontiac is hoping it becomes a halo car and brings people back into the Pontiac showroom. Well, I'm here to tell you that Pontiac has hit a bullseye. Yes, it needs more interior space. Yes, it needs a little more power. But more importantly, on the highway, people can't take their eyes off it. You park it, and people are all over it. They love it, and they're giving it the thumbs up. And you know, for Pontiac, it's been a long time since it's seen that kind of reaction to any of its products. Oh, before I go, I do have a pet peeve, and it's not GM's fault. In most provinces, you're required to have a front license plate. Well, look at what it does to the Solstice. A beautiful front end, and it's spoiled. So there you go. That's it for now. We'll see you next time out as we continue to bring you more stories about cars and the people who drive them.
There are very few vehicles in the world, I don't care how much you spend, that can do what this little car can do.
TSN's Motoring 2006 has been brought to you by the new Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses.